Okay, team. Lightning won all 3 tests. Let's hear it for Lightning. Why did it win? What happened to Thunder? Why did the 500 cut like the 500 cut? Let's talk about it. Normally when I do a build series, I've been just, here's what I do with the saw. Let's go test it. Okay, that's it. What I'd like to do is do a little analysis, a little theory. Why did this happen? Just talk about it a little bit. So first of all, let's talk about the 500 for a minute. It's a stock 500i. So number one, right off the bat, the exhaust, not good. Not good for performance. I'm sure it has a baffle and a very small exhaust port, which I'll show you. It's very quiet, which is very nice for if I'm going to go cut in the village or a dense populated area where you got, people out trying to enjoy their Sunday afternoon, and I'm out there cutting 3-foot walnut like last weekend in their backyard. So it's a nice saw. It cuts with plenty of power stock. It doesn't need to have a straight pipe exhaust on it. The 500i, it cut like it should have for a stock 500. It was probably, I think it was about 2 or 3 seconds slower on the biggest log in the maple than a stock 661, which I think is probably right where it should be. The Thunder, the 461, tons of compression. It needs this to start it. The test really here was, can we make enough RPM to keep up with Lightning? No, we didn't do that, but we know what to do. We know what adjustments to make, and we'll talk about that. Lightning, the question was, can we make enough torque with those port durations to pull the long bar, the 3-foot bar? We found out the answer was yes to that question. So let's look at the board. Let's look at the scoreboard. All right, here's our scoreboard. We got our 3 saws and our 3 bars. The stock is 500i, 34 seconds on the long bar in the big log. I want to say that stock 661 was cut in about 32, somewhere in there. It might be a little faster, but I think that's right about where it needs to be. And again, I cut more cookies than what these times were. So I tried to verify, to make sure there weren't any variables that would change the test. And these were some of the better times of the number of cuts that I did. That's what I edited into the video, was a good representation of what those cuts would be. So Thunder was 28 and Lightning was 26. Very close on the long bar. And that was the question, was this saw going to be able to pull the long bar? I kind of assumed that this saw was going to pull the long bar better. I was surprised by this. And that proves that if we set up a saw well, we can run a significantly higher exhaust port than stock if we have all the other pieces in place. Because this saw has had multiple things done to increase compression ratio. This saw had multiple things done to increase port duration, increase case capacity, and essentially horsepower. So 28, very similar results. 32.5, 24, and 23 was the winner. And on the short bar, this test really means nothing. This is technique, probably has more to do with this, but again, more RPM wins on the short bar. So let's look at the exhaust on the 500, and let's talk about why this lagged a little bit more than maybe a lot of people thought, because I had a comment on Facebook and one on YouTube about the 500. And honestly, the 500 ran just like a stock 500 should. So this is why I think it might look like it's not cutting as well as it is. Okay, so the muffler right off the bat on the 500 it's going to be restrictive. It's capped off from the factory. And these are things that they have to do in order to meet certain emissions regulations, NOx levels, decibel regulations. And you can see the exit port on this is really no bigger than this dry erase marker. It's small. And that's why the first thing that everybody does is they do a muffler mod, because that's going to be your biggest gain right out of the gate is a muffler mod. So let's take a look at a dyno sheet for a 500i. I believe this is from TriStar Supply's website, and the product that they sell for an aftermarket muffler modification for the 500i. So let's say we're going to go take this saw out and put this 3-foot bar on and go bury it in some walnut or some oak or whatever. And we put that thing in there and it takes it down. You know, we start running out of torque right around that red line. Right around 7,000 is where we start losing our torque. So let's just say, for example, at that red line, we're dogged into this big log with a 3-foot bar, and we're turning 7,000 RPMs, and that puts us at about a little over 6.5 horsepower, I believe. But if we can make the same amount of torque at 8,000 RPMs, if we move that over to the green line, and we can make the same amount of torque at 8,000 RPMs, we're making well over a half a horsepower more. Well, how could we not, right? Mathematically, we would have to be. So we're applying the same amount of torque, 1,000 RPMs more. You know, our chain should be spinning. Our chain should be cutting 15% more chips, you know, in theory, you know, and this is all just theory and speculation and approximations, but that is the difference, is because if you look at where the red line meets the blue horsepower line, it's quite a bit of a difference from 7,000 up to the red line, the red curve above the green line. You're talking about taking it up another 1,000 RPMs. That's adding, what do you think that is? A horsepower? Very close to a horsepower? And which is going to be very noticeable in the cut. So if you're watching this test and you're saying, well, my 500 cuts faster than that, my 500 that has a muffler mod cuts faster than that, absolutely it does, without a doubt, significantly faster. Now, when we take that and we add porting, timing advance, a well-tuned exhaust, all these other things, machine work, now we start adding, all those little things start adding up even more, and that's what shows up on that test board. Now, as far as the Black 461, as far as Thunder goes, if we were going to make revisions or learn something from the test, to me, in my opinion, it would be, we're very close, but we need to make more RPM in the cut. We need to get it at least to the RPM in the cut that's consistently being held by the orange saw. This would get there at some point in the cut, but it would take some time. Initially, when I dogged in, the RPM would drop, and then at some point in the cut, you would hear it would pick up RPM, and it would start cutting very well. 105, like I said, when I was building the saw, is about the lowest I would ever want to run an exhaust port. If we were going to do a revision, I would say right off the bat, if we did this exact same build with maybe a 102, putting it back to stock, I think that would wake the saw up considerably, and it would just be noticeably different in the cut, possibly even faster than Lightning with the amount of compression that we're making. On Lightning, are there any revisions that I would do? Not really. It's cutting very well. And remember, we didn't put a lot of compression into the saw. It's pretty easy to start. It does not need a D handle. It starts fairly well, and it's easy to tune. It idles. Those timing numbers that were put into this saw seem to be working really well and not creating other peripheral issues. I wouldn't revise a thing on it. The only question about Lightning is longevity, because remember, we did boost ports. We deleted the deflector. There was a lot of things going on with this build that were going to affect the saw potentially within its longevity and durability. So those are things that we could only test over time and just see how long it holds up. So that's it. I'm already working on the next series. I'm doing 390 XPs. I got this saw was crushed by a tree, this 390 XP. I got it all fixed. It's ready to go. I found out it was ported from the guy told me who I got it from. He said this was ported by a shop, someone who does engine building and porting commercially. So this will be another fun challenge because I'm building another 390, and we will go through this on the channel. How am I going to build it? What are we going to do to it? And then I'll go and we'll go race these two saws and put them through some tests and see what happens. And this is not going to be a race saw or anything like that. I'm going to build this. I'm actually not going to do very much grinding on it at all. It's going to have machine work and some finesse work done to the ports. And we're going to go take them out, race them, run them, do a little review on them, see how they run, and have some fun with those. So hopefully everybody learned something in this series. I know I did. And we'll just keep going with it. Let's keep building saws. I got tons of saws to build. I literally just document and record the things that I'm doing out here. It's all for fun. I'm not selling anything. I don't have some catchy nickname for myself that some super genius engine builder. None of that. This is all for fun. It's all for learning. I'm learning right with you guys and trying to have some fun while we do it. So see you soon for this next video.